All right, ready to dive in. Today, we're all about making a killer first impression. Specifically, how to make people like you in, like, 90 seconds. We're exploring Nicholas Boothman's audiobook, How to Make People Like You in 90 Seconds or Less. It's jam-packed with these techniques for better communication and connection.
Yeah, I think we all hear that first impressions matter, but then it's like, Boothman actually lays out a plan.
Exactly. He starts with this idea of human connection, which, okay, we all get it. Connection is good, but he goes deeper.
Much deeper. He even talks about studies that, get this, show that people with strong social ties actually live longer.
Wow, okay, so it's not just about feeling good, it's actually good for you, like biologically.
Right. It's like
Mm.
community becomes this health factor.
That's pretty amazing when you think about it.
Yeah, and it's not just living longer either. Boothman talks about how community gives us this feeling of safety, and that in turn helps us grow more as individuals. Like we can take risks, try new things, all because we have that support system.
It's like a positive feedback loop. The more connected you are, the more you can grow, and the more you grow, the more you connect.
Exactly.
But here's where I got a little tripped up, honestly. He's super pro face-to-face connection, which in today's world I was kind of surprised by.
Yeah, I get that. He's not anti-technology or anything, but he really emphasizes that nothing can fully replace that depth you get when you're actually physically with someone, especially for those truly meaningful relationships.
So that brings us to this whole 90-second window thing he's always talking about. What's the magic behind that number?
Well, think about it. We're bombarded with information all the time. Everything's so fast-paced. Boothman's point is that people make judgments fast. We're talking seconds, not minutes.
So that first impression has to be strong, no pressure or anything.
Right. But, and this is what I like about Boothman, he gives you these really practical steps to make it work. And it's not about being like this dazzling performer. It's more about, I don't know, projecting the right feeling. He says likability goes way beyond just your looks. It's that sense of warmth, of being sincere, like you're actually interested in connecting with the person.
Okay, so less about razzle-dazzle, more about genuine connection. But how do you actually do that?
He has this 5-step technique he calls the greeting. It's about sending open, welcoming signals, and not just with your words, but with your body language, too.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Break it down for us.
He uses the acronym OPEN, I, beam, high, lean.
Ooh, acronyms. Gotta love them. So starting with open.
Yeah, so open is kind of twofold. Literally, you want to open up your body language, uncross arms, relax posture. But he also means open up your attitude, like visualize yourself radiating this welcoming energy.
So like your internal state actually matters. It shows outwardly.
Totally. Then I be the first to make eye contact, but like genuine eye contact, not creepy staring, more like a warm, confident look.
You know, I've read that eye contact can be different across cultures. Does he address
He
that?
does, yeah. He says the key is to be sensitive to those cultural norms and adjust. Sometimes a nod or slight bow can be just as effective as direct eye contact.
That makes sense. Okay, so beam has got to be the smile, right?
Yep, you got it. But, and this is key, it has to be a genuine smile. It signals you're friendly, approachable. People just naturally trust a real smile more.
Makes sense. So then, hi, I mean, seems pretty self-explanatory. What's Boothman's twist on that?
He emphasizes using a warm, welcoming tone of voice and offering your name right away, like, hi, I'm your name, instead of waiting for them to ask. It shows a little more, confidence and initiative.
I like that. So you're kind of putting yourself out there,
Yeah.
making it easier for them to connect with you. And lastly, lean.
Yeah, a subtle lean in. Not like invading their space, but just showing you're interested. It subtly strengthens the connection.
I can see how all these little things together could really shift the whole vibe of the interaction. But what about the handshake? Is that still a thing in Boothman's world?
Actually, he talks about what he calls a hands-free handshake.
Hands-free handshake.
Yeah.
Okay, I got to hear more about this. What is that exactly?
It's basically projecting that same welcoming energy you'd get from a handshake, but without the physical contact. Maybe you extend your hand slightly, open palm, but you don't go in for the grip.
So it's still acknowledging the other person, but respecting their space. I guess that'd be good in situations where a handshake might be awkward.
Exactly. Like if you're crammed in an elevator or you're meeting someone who's from a culture where physical touch isn't as common.
Okay, that makes total sense.
Yeah.
So we've really been focusing on those first few seconds, but Boothman doesn't stop there, right? He wants us to go deeper and build actual rapport.
He does, and he sees rapport as like the foundation for really connecting and having meaningful conversations. He describes it as that feeling of comfort and connection, like finding that common ground where you can really understand each other.
It's that click you get sometimes, right? Where it's like, oh, we're vibing, we're on the same wavelength.
Exactly. And to get there, he's got this 4-part framework: attitude, synchrony, conversation skills, and something called sensory acuity.
Okay, let's unpack those. Starting with attitude, why is that so crucial?
Boothman believes your attitude is like the bedrock of likability. It influences everything, how you carry yourself, your tone of voice. It all comes through.
If I'm walking into a room feeling stressed or annoyed, people are going to pick up on that.
Absolutely. He talks about cultivating what he calls a really useful attitude. Think warmth, curiosity, helpfulness. It's about going into interactions with a genuine desire to connect rather than letting that negativity take over.
So no faking it till you make it.
Nope, people can spot a fake a mile away. He talks about actually reframing negative thoughts, turning don't wants into wants. Like instead of, I don't want this meeting to drag on, it's, I want to make this meeting productive and engaging. It's subtle, but it makes a huge difference in your energy.
It's like you're choosing to focus on the positive outcome instead of dwelling on the potential negative. I can see how that could shift your whole vibe.
Yeah.
So wasn't there an exercise he mentions for like shifting your attitude on the spot? Something about a happy memory?
Oh, yeah. Want to try it.
A condensed version, of course.
I'm always up for a good experiment. Lay it on me.
Okay, first, pick a really useful attitude you want to tap into. Maybe confidence or warmth, whatever resonates. Got one?
Yeah, I've got one.
All right, now make a tight fist with your writing hand. Just clench and release it a few times. That fist is going to be your trigger. Now relax, close your eyes, take a few deep breaths.
Okay. Feeling relaxed. What's next? I want you to bring to mind a really vivid memory. One where you truly felt that chosen attitude. Maybe a moment of success, a time you felt deeply connected to someone. Anything that brings up that feeling strongly.
Got it. I'm picturing it.
Now really immerse yourself in it. See the colors, hear the sounds, feel the sensations. Let that memory come alive.
Wow, it's amazing how quickly those feelings come back.
Isn't it? Okay, now I want you to like crank up the intensity. Make those colors brighter, the sounds louder, the feelings even stronger. Let that positive energy wash over you.
They can feel it.
Now, at the peak of that feeling, clench your fist tight. Hold it, then release. Repeat a couple times, anchoring that peak feeling to your fist.
Okay, that's pretty wild. I definitely feel a shift in my energy, like just clenching my fist brings back a bit of that feeling.
Exactly. Now, whenever you want to access that attitude, just make a fist. It's a quick way to shift your mindset and project that energy.
That's such a cool tool. I could totally see myself using that before a big presentation or even walking into like a networking event.
Oh, for sure. It's like a game changer. It gives you this sense of control over how you're feeling, which then influences how you come across to others.
I love it. Okay, so attitude, check. What's next in Boothman's rapport-building arsenal?
That would be synchrony. It's all about subtly mirroring someone's behavior to, like, subconsciously create a connection.
Mirroring, isn't that a little manipulative?
Not if you do it authentically. It's not about, like, mimicking every single gesture they make. It's more about matching their energy, their pace. You know, if they're speaking softly and slowly, you wouldn't want to be all loud and fast-paced.
Okay, so it's more about finding that common rhythm. Does that include things like voice tone, too?
Absolutely. Our voices convey so much emotion. So subtly matching their volume, their pitch, even their pauses. It creates this sense of harmony.
Like you're finding that sweet spot where the conversation just flows.
Yeah.
I can see how that would make someone feel more comfortable and heard.
Right. And the more you practice observing these subtle cues and responding to them, the more natural it becomes.
So it's less about being a chameleon and more about being a really good listener, picking up on those unspoken signals.
Exactly. It's about fine-tuning your radar for social cues and then responding genuinely.
I'm digging it. Before we move on to the rest of Boothman's framework, I'm curious, what's been the most surprising or useful thing for you so far?
You know, honestly, that happy memory exercise, I was a bit skeptical at first, I'll admit, but trying it just now, it really does work. I think having that, like, go-to trigger for a positive attitude is going to be huge, especially in those moments when I'm feeling a little nervous.
I'm right there with you. It's like having a secret weapon for confidence. And for everyone listening, we'll be back soon to unpack the rest of Boothman's rapport-building techniques, including the art of conversation and this fascinating concept of sensory acuity. Stay tuned.
Welcome back. Picking up where we left off, talking about that whole synchrony thing and how subtly mirroring someone can help create a connection.
Yeah, finding that shared rhythm, making people feel more at ease without them even knowing why. It's fascinating.
Totally. Now, Boothman also talks about, conversation skills, which might seem kind of obvious, but he actually has some pretty specific advice that goes beyond just being a good listener.
Okay, so what are some of his top tips for conversations that, like, really spark a connection? I'm all ears.
He's a big fan of asking those open-ended questions, the kind that, invite people to share more than just a yes or no. It shows you're really interested in what they have to say.
Right, it makes sense. Instead of, do you like to travel, it's, what's your favorite place you've ever traveled to? Suddenly the conversation's so much more engaging.
Exactly. And it gives you those little breadcrumbs to follow, leading to even more interesting conversations. He also talks about compliments, but with a twist.
Okay, I'm intrigued. What's the catch with compliments?
He says they need to be specific and sincere. Like instead of just saying, nice shoes, try, those shoes are so stylish. They really complement your outfit. It shows you're actually paying attention to the details.
Right, you're acknowledging something unique about them, not just throwing out a generic compliment.
Exactly. And he even suggests using compliments as a way to gather information. Like, if you admire someone's watch instead of just nice watch, you could say, that's a beautiful watch. Is there a story behind it?
Oh, that's brilliant. You're turning a compliment into an invitation to share something personal, which, yeah, that could instantly create a connection.
Right. And then Boothman also emphasizes being memorable. He says that in this world where we're just constantly hit with information, you got to stand out.
But how do you do that without feeling like you're trying too hard or like being inauthentic?
It's not about putting on a show. It's more about finding those little things that make you unique and letting your personality shine through. Maybe you have a quirky hobby, or you're a great storyteller, or maybe you just have a knack for putting people at ease.
I think that's something so many people struggle with, right? Feeling comfortable enough to just be themselves, especially with new people.
Oh, totally. And it's definitely a skill that takes practice. But when you can embrace your authentic self, it takes the pressure off and lets those genuine connections happen more organically. Now, let's switch gears a bit and talk about one of the most fascinating parts of Boothman's approach, sensory acuity.
I was so curious about this when I was reading about it. It's the idea that everyone has a dominant sense that they rely on more than others, right? Like some people are visual, others auditory or kinesthetic.
That's the gist of it. He says we experience the world through all five senses, but we each have this preferred sense that really shapes how we perceive and interact with everything.
So how do you figure out someone's dominant sense? Is there like secret handshake or something?
No secret handshake, unfortunately.
Mhm.
But Boothman gives you some really practical clues to look for in their language, their behavior, even their eye movements. For example, visually dominant people tend to use words like see, look, bright, and clear.
Right, and I bet they're also drawn to things that are visually stimulating, like art or fashion.
Totally. They love aesthetics and appreciate a well-crafted image. You might also notice that they're really expressive with their hand gestures, almost like they're painting a picture with their words.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
What about auditory people? What are some of their tells?
They're all about sound and language. They might use words like hear, sound, resonate, tune in. They often love music, really enjoy a good conversation, and can be pretty sensitive to noise.
So if you're talking to someone and they keep mentioning how much they love music or how soothing your voice is, that could be a hint, right?
It could be. And then you have kinesthetic people. They're all about feeling and touch. They use words like feel, touch, grasp, solid. They're very physically oriented, and often more comfortable with physical touch than other types.
So they might be the type to like hug you hello or touch your arm when they're making a point.
Yeah, for sure. They also really appreciate comfort and texture, and they're often drawn to things like dancing or sports where they can move their bodies.
This is so fascinating. But why is it so important to know someone's dominant sense? Like, what do we do with that information?
Well, once you've identified their what he calls sensory language, you can adjust your communication style to resonate with them on a deeper level. It's like you're speaking to their soul in a language that feels familiar and engaging.
So if someone is visual, I might use more descriptive language, really paint pictures with my words, and maybe even use visuals if appropriate.
You got it. And for an auditory person, you'd focus on your tone of voice, use storytelling techniques, and maybe incorporate some sound-rich language.
And for a kinesthetic person, I'd use more physical gestures, maybe metaphors that relate to physical sensations, and even incorporate some light touch if it's appropriate and feels comfortable for both of us.
Exactly. It's all about meeting them where they are and creating a communication style that feels really natural and engaging.
This is so cool. I'm already thinking about everyone I know and trying to figure out their dominant sense. It's like a whole new way to understand people.
Yeah. Right. And the more you practice, the more intuitive it becomes. You'll start to pick up on these cues without even thinking about it.
It's not about manipulating anyone, though, right?
Oh, definitely not. It's about using this knowledge ethically and authentically to really connect with people.
It's about amplifying your natural ability to connect, not putting on some kind of act.
Precisely. Before we move on to the last part of our deep dive, was there anything that really resonated with you?
Honestly, this whole sensory acuity thing is mind-blowing. I'm noticing it everywhere now. And yeah, I can see how understanding it can help me connect with people on a deeper level. It's like I have a secret decoder ring for human interaction.
I'm totally with you. It's such a powerful tool. And for all you listeners out there, join us in part 3, where we'll wrap up this deep dive with even more tips from Boothman and see how to use those first 90 seconds to build lasting, meaningful relationships.
All right, back for the final part of our deep dive into Nicholas Boothman's How to Make People Like You in 90 Seconds or Less. We've covered a lot of ground. I feel like I'm actually ready for my next networking event now. Yeah. A little less terrified, at least.
Yeah, it's all about putting these techniques into practice, and the more you use them, the easier it gets, you know?
For sure. So before we wrap up, what are some final nuggets of wisdom Boothman offers to really, I don't know, make those first 90 seconds count?
Well, one thing he really emphasizes is the idea of being what he calls a giver in your interactions.
A giver. What does that even mean, practically speaking?
It's about offering value to the other person without expecting anything back. It could be a genuine compliment, some helpful advice, even just giving them your undivided attention. It's like shifting the focus from what you can get to what you can give.
That's a cool way to think about it. I like that. It's like approaching the interaction with this sense of generosity, which honestly probably just makes it more enjoyable for everyone involved.
Yeah, exactly. And it goes back to that whole idea of attitude, right? When you genuinely want to connect and contribute, people pick up on that. It's contagious, that kind of positive energy.
Totally. Put good vibes out there, good vibes come back. Okay, so being a giver, what else? Any other actionable advice from Boothman?
Oh, yeah. He also talks about being mindful of your physical environment.
Oh, interesting. So it's not just about you and the other person. The space matters too.
Yeah. I mean, think about it. If you're trying to have this deep conversation in, I don't know, a loud, chaotic environment, it's going to be so much harder. Choosing a location that's actually, conducive to connection can make a huge difference.
So lighting, noise level, even the seating arrangement, all of that plays into it.
Absolutely. It's about creating the space that feels comfortable and welcoming. He even talks about making sure there's nothing physically blocking you from the person you're talking to, like, I don't know, a huge plant or something. It's about removing those barriers, even the subconscious ones.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. All right, any last words of wisdom from Boothman before we wrap things up?
One that really stuck with me is his reminder to, view every interaction as an opportunity to learn and grow. Even if the conversation doesn't go perfectly, there's always something to gain.
I love that. It kind of takes the pressure off, right?
Oh, yeah.
Instead of worrying about saying the perfect thing or making a flawless impression, it's you can approach interactions with more curiosity, more of an open mind.
Exactly. It's about enjoying the whole process of connecting with people. And remember, all this takes time. It takes practice. Don't get discouraged if you, don't nail it every time. The more you experiment, the more natural it'll become.
This deep dive has been amazing. I feel like I've learned so much.
Yeah.
For anyone listening who wants to go even deeper, I definitely recommend checking out Boothman's book. It's full of even more insights.
Yeah, I second that. And, the biggest thing is just to be yourself, be authentic. Go into those interactions with the genuine desire to connect. You'll be amazed at the relationships you can build.
Well said. And that wraps up our deep dives into how to make people like you in 90 seconds or less. Until next time, remember, you have the power to connect. Go out there and make those first 90 seconds count.